Okay, number 15, we want to match graphs of each of these logarithm expressions to the graphs below. All right, so let's look and see what logarithm looks like. Okay, we did kind of see it in the textbook. I'm going to go to videos. I'm going to go to chapter 2. This is where I put the parent functions. I'm going to go to this one that has the parent function plus. I like the color of this one. And here we go, logarithm graph right here. And it shows you ln or log. They both give you the same type graph. They show you the general domain, range, the inverse of it, so that's the exponential form, or if you have natural log. And this is the transformation. So remember when we had some a out front or b in front of that x term, the minus h would shift it left to right, k would go up or down. So it's going to do the same thing, but this is the original graph. So if you have natural log or log of some base, it will be going up and curving to the right. It never crosses the y-axis. It just gets really, really close and then goes over. That's that point that it can't be 0. All right. So that being the case, let's try to graph log base 6 of x. So are there any other ones that are just the standard graph, log base 6 of x? They're all log base 6. This one has a negative in front, which means it gets flipped across the x-axis. Okay, so none. This is just a general one. So this is the original one that we're looking for. 69 looks exactly like what we just saw, just curving up and going over. All right, so we're going to drop this guy down here. That's going to be just the original graph. So now let's go to this next one. So we have log base 6 x minus 1. Now notice the difference. This minus 1 is not in parentheses with the x. So this is not a left or right. This is a up or down. This is like the k. So this is going to be the same graph that we just graphed, except it's going to get dropped down 1 unit. So it's going to go down. And the graph that looks most like that, I would say, is 71. That looks like it drops down 1. And again, you can also plug these into your graphing calculator and make sure that you're getting the same idea. So 71 looks to be the one that has shifted down 1 unit. And of course, if you want to graph these, let me just pull it up and just confirm it with the graph. We can go y equal log, and it's not going to do base 6, but it'll still be fine. I'm going to do log of x, and then you have to close that parentheses up to say I'm finished with the log, and then do minus 1. So if you were graphing this, we would graph, and let me zoom to standard zoom 6. I guess it would be better to get this window. So I'm going to go from -2 to 10 and 4 to 4. So I'm going to go window in the x direction, -2 to 10, and the y direction, -4 to +4. And then graph it and get a better image. Okay, so you can kind of see how this image looks about the same, and it comes up and goes across. All right, so that would match up with that graph there. Okay, so now this one, because of the negative being in front of the x, it's going to flip this graph across the y-axis. So instead of your graph going that way, it's going to go that way. All right, it's going to be going that way. So we have a couple of graphs doing that, going up and turning that way, that one, and we also have this one. Now, this -1 or this +1 also come into play. This +1 will shift it left 1 unit. So this one looks right on the axis. This one looks like it got shifted, but because of the flip, it looks like it got shifted to the right. So I think they flip it, they shift it, and then they flip it. So if they shifted here and then they flipped it around, then it looks like this mirror image. So 72 is going to give us the opposite look because of that flip. So this one will match here, and again, you can graph them. I do recommend graphing some of them. The negative out front and the y is going to flip across the x-axis. So instead of your graph going up this way, it's going to be coming down and doing this number here, right here. So just kind of flip that graph. This one looks to be the best match, okay, if you understand those flips. So I'm going to drag and drop this guy here. Then we have flips in both directions. Okay, so I'm going to draw this because, again, it's kind of hard to envision these flips. So I'm going to draw this one out. So here is the log function originally. It's going up this way, going straight down here. All right, if I flip this across the y-axis first, I'm going to get this image, dot, 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 going that way. So that's flip across the y. Now I'm going to take this and flip it across the x. So flipping it across the x would mean it would be coming down, dot, 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 and going this way. So this would be the flip across the x and the y image that you would see. Okay, so this is the graph we're looking for that flips across both. It goes from there to coming there. So the one that looks to be coming down and going that way, we can see that in 67. I don't know if we have more options that look like that on that side. I think that's the only one that's on that side coming down. So as far as the one that flips both, it's going to match with this one. So again, with transformations that we've looked at. All right, so we have 3 more. Let's do this simple shift across the y-axis. So again, from this graph to just going the other way, facing that way, with no transformation, that's going to match up with 65. And then we have 2 more. This one is going to flip across the x-axis, okay? So we will be going up, and we will just kind of flip to going down. It also got shifted up 1, but because of the flip, it looks like it got shifted down 1, because you would shift it and then you would flip it. So I'm looking for like this graph to be coming down and curving, coming down and curving. So that would be this guy right here, 68, coming down and curving. And then by default, we have one last one. So what is happening here? We have our original graph, but this -1 shifts right 1. So yes, that looks to be right. So just graph them if you need to. It does take some time. You know, I have a little bit more experience, so it may be easier for me to do this, but it does take some thought of thinking about how to transform, what's flipping, what's translating or whatnot. So, but as you do it a little bit more and more, and especially if you graph them, it'll help you to see them. So let's check this before we stop.